Hello friends, I'm continuing the series on building a Tauri app using Rust and React framework. Today I'll be focusing on doing some UI refinement from this plain simple UI to this dark theme based UI. So I'll explain about what kind of UI framework choice I made and different component I built to come up with this UI screen. If you in this left hand panel, I'll list on all the tables dynamically. This will be fetched from the DynamoDB. Once you click on the table name, you'll be showing this different columns in the right hand side. And there is one more feature I've added. If you click on this any section, so that a viewer with the JSON data will be displayed. So I'll be explaining in step-by-step manner what are the different way I have to come up with this. This is quite simple and easy to develop. For the UI framework, I've decided to use Mantine or Mantine. There is no specific requirement, or there is no specific motivation behind choosing it. I like the look and feel, and this seems to be a good fit for my current use case for my side project. This Mantine is an open source project and which has a feature rich React components library, and a quick glance of it looks very decent and polished dark theme. Actually, I'm planning to use it as both darker as well as lighter theme, and has various component of it. For example, if I want to use date picker and all nuts and bolts used for designing a decent UI application. And the theming capabilities is based on Emotion, kind of CSS in JavaScript library. So we can leverage. Unfortunately, I can't use Tailwind CSS for this. I can try to use both, but that will be more redundant approach. I don't think both will work together very nicely. So for this project, I removed the Tailwind dependency. So I'll go with the theming provided by default by Mantine. So it has both lighter theme as well as darker theme, but I'll be mostly focused on the darker theme. I can easily customize to lighter theme, but don't want to focus too much on playing around both the theme. So most of the time you'll see me working on the darker theme in this project. So I've not used the various hooks as of now, but slowly I'll try to leverage different hooks. I like to use various hooks, and for my own React development also, I prefer to write custom hooks wherever it is appropriate. It does contain that animation as well. Maybe in future I'll try to use some animation and some notification system. This rich text editor it contain, but I may not use it. So overall looks good, and it has a good compatibility between Next, Vanilla, React.js and Vite. So as my project is currently Vite, so there is no issues in terms of integrating this one. So for Mantine, I have to install dependencies such as core, hooks. These two required, and which will contain most of the common UI components. For example, table, buttons, navigation, grid, and so on. And for the icon, I have used this tabular icons React. I don't have any preference as such. I may go with Font Awesome and some different icon set in future if I like so. But my project at this moment is not very icon heavy, and I'm not trying to be too much nitty-picky about this decent UI, each and every detail of this UI component. I'll try to build the functionality as soon as possible. In later point of time, I will try to customize the UI to make it more decent. Now I just want a good enough UI. And this React JSON pretty I have used. This Mantine come up with Prism. Prism.js is one of the very popular library which is helpful for syntax highlighting. But I face some issues in terms of rendering, doing the prettify of the JSON component. JSON, like lots of data is stored in a JSON as a DynamoDB, right? Once I got that, I can able to render into the Prism, but it doesn't look so nice, and it is not able to prettify it. So I've tried a couple of approach to prettify myself, but still I am not able to make it work. That's why I started using this React JSON prettify. So once we pass a JSON content to it, it will prettify into a proper format, and then it will do a syntax highlighting itself, which look decent enough for now. And one very good thing about using Tauri app is that I don't need to worry too much about this size of this library, because even though it will add 1 or 2 megabyte, it should be, there is no problem as such, because the client will install and download only once, and compared to the Electron, it definitely significantly lower footprint in terms of downloadable size. So it is a very good comfort time feeling just to add different icons and different library. So for the side project, it is no problem. But if you are at the same time, if you are trying to building a web application, then I have to be more careful and compare the sizes. So I'm a little bit too much paranoid about introducing size whenever it is come to building a web application. But for Tauri app, I'm feeling a peace of mind, because desktop application, you don't need to worry about adding 1 or 2 megabyte of additional component size. And once we add this dependency and install it, so we can add this Mantine provider. Currently I'm adding in main.tsx, but in future I may try to create inside this app component, try to separate it out. In most of this component library, you'll create some kind of wrapper for this provider. This provider is able to set some default values, and it will set the React context or kind of global storage it will create. So it will initialize and store that. So that like themes, for example, I'm using darker theme and lots of different variables like font and all this default thing. It will be stored in a context. So using some hooks, like use context hooks provided by Mantine or any kind of library for that matter, we can access this color, background, font very easily. And these two important attributes, like it comes with normalized CSS and global styles. They should normalize this normalize CSS is a very basic concept, because each browser will behave slightly differently. Because initially I tried without adding that, and I got a weird kind of UI and some kind of white, there is a margin padding. It doesn't look very ugly. It looks very ugly. But once I added, most of this browser incompatibility gone away. So I highly recommend to use these two attributes. So this is the initial setup. And this I have already shown and discussed. Like I have a two states like table list, and items which will contain this rows. So initially whenever this application is rendered, so I connect to Rust backend, call this get tables, and get the list of tables and set these properties. And this get tables is located into this DYDB. I already explained in my previous videos. So in this case, like invoke is kind of functionality provided by Tauri apps. This will enable the communication between React and the Rust backend. So we can call this invoke list tables, and this list table function is written in Rust. I already shown earlier and explained in detail, but let me quickly have a shown to you. So all the Rust code will be located into source.tauri, and all the React code will be located into the directly source folder. So this Tauri commands is very helpful to know that this is the function which is provided by Tauri and is ready for the communication between the React.js as well as this Rust backend. So if you need some argument, you can supply, but our function doesn't need any arguments. So it will return a vector of string. And whatever the logic we have implemented is related to your application. In my case, I'm connecting to the local DynamoDB installation and retrieving all these tables related with that, local hosted installed DynamoDB. But today I'll be mostly focusing on the UI component part, and similarly this list items. So once you supply a table, it will go and call to the Rust backend and retrieve all the rows for the table. It won't enter all the rows. Currently it will return like there are 10 rows, just to get a snapshot of that listing of the tables, because if you want to return every row, your program will crash and it is not possible even. And coming to this Mantine UI layer, this is the one app cell which created this this kind of header, left navigation, right navigation. This app cell is able to initialize that part. So which contains some properties. It contains like navigation bar and header. So for the responsive design, you can provide some kind of different paddings. MD, small and medium and high and so on. This is the table list component I built in the last video, and today also I updated a little bit to adjust to this Mantine framework. So this is the navigation bar which will be displayed in the left hand side. We can specify width and height. And this header, this is the logo section of the title I given the Dyna Explorer. And this is some styles. Currently I'm using, we can do some kind of additional code here. We can write like if the current theme is dark, so this color, or dark, it's a different color. But for me, I want to keep it simple. So background color, I'm using a darker one. Foreground color, I'm using a grayer one. This root means will be, this main is not needed. I can remove in future. This root will be applicable for, all the header, sidebar navigation and the body content. And on top of that, each particular component will have their own default structure. See, for example, this color I gray it, but if you see this body has a little bit darker color, so it will be auto decided by default by the main team. So you have a full control to customize it, but it comes with a very default style as well. So first I'll show this table, and this clear and reload are not doing nothing. This is for testing purpose. The data will be gone. So once we click on the clear, it will come. Reload means the enter page will be reloaded. This for the helpful for testing. May not be. I may get rid of those two buttons in the final side, but for the testing, I quickly created this kind of two table. So this is header and item list. Item list will go into the body. If you see this content, so just this app cell will contain this navigation bar and this header and some style and item list in the body. So this will give this entire layout. How this looks as it is. And inside this nav bar, I've created table list components. These all are the same properties. This on clear I've added recently, but it doesn't do much. Only it will, if you see this, on clear will set items to empty array so that the data will be gone and we'll get a clean body. Once we click again, that will be populated. Inside table list, I created different neighbor section. These are all the maintained components. So which ensure this it is a responsive design, and how this, if you reset the page, it will do some lots of things. So it is recommended to use the component as much as possible. And this title order is like 1, 2, 1 is for H1, 2 is for H2, and so on. This is like just a heading. And this grow particular attribute will make sure this particular section is in the top and the other section is in the bottom, so they won't grow. But the middle part is like this will be growing. So we may have multiple entries because tables is an array. So we loop it and created a button for this timing. So in future we may also try to improve it. So this I'm using a database icon here. This icon is coming from this left icon, right icon. We can specify different attributes. And this database icon is I'm currently getting from this tabular icons React. You could use any different icon set as well, because this is what they given in the Mantine example. So I try to use as much as to their recommendation so that it will look, I won't face any weird issue in the beginning stage. Maybe in future, if you don't like too much about it, I need a different icon set, I can feel free to use it. And this reload, if you see that, on click location.reload, this is a window function. So it will reload this browser. So all data will be fetched again. Sometimes I feel like my changes is not reflected. That's for quick testing. I'm reloading the browser. This is part the simple navigation bar. And once we come to the item list, this item list also contains the title. And instead of new simple HTML table, I have just only changes this, to the Mantine table. And immediately the theme and everything, no CSS needs to import, nothing. I just have to import this component table title. And I will use like theme, I'll tell you in a second. This is what the provider wants to initialize, right? This is the context. So use Mantine theme, will retrieve this theme. Theme is kind of global store for application. So the font, color, background color, all different attributes are stored here. So wherever we need it, we can able to access it. And this I'll explain in a bit. So this table, tbody. Actually, if you see this, I don't have a proper header because in DynamoDB tables, the primary key and secondary key we can know for sure. But other attributes can change. This is not a single design. Like a relational database, we know how many columns we will get. But in the DynamoDB, the columns are very free form. So in this case, you may have title. Here you may not have title. This is a completely separate attributes. For example, nodes and shapes. And this is all valid design principle. Because this primary key, because all the data related to this primary key, or a particular user, so they all be collocated into one partition. This is on a single table design, which is a very good design principle to be applicable into a NoSQL database, which makes this performance much more better, because Amazon heavily uses this this particular DynamoDB. And in the Prime Day, I read one article that it is able to process like 80 million transactions per second or something like that. It is quite crazy. Because if you have a relational database, it is very difficult to scale. But if you are using a NoSQL database, so you can scale to any number of transactions. So if you see this, I have only items. This is the number of rows. So this row will be created. TR. And I put this short key as a key Your primary key, if you see, it is repeated, the same email. Because primary key and combination of short key only is a unique. So I could have command both of them, but for this short key would be unique for my example case. But primary key is not unique. Or not primary key, it is a partition key. I think I've given the name as primary key, right? Yeah, I think it is known as primary key. I'm not sure, I'll double confirm, but it is known as partition key most of the time. So the combination of partition key and short key is the unique. But anyway, so this is the first column. I put the header inside the same value like paragraph, primary key name and primary key value, and this color I set as blue. So this is where I got this theme. This theme variable I got from this particular use Mantine theme, so that I can able to access like colors and blue or black or whatever may be. There's so many different variety of colors available. So item, primary key, value. So this item, all these things is retrieved from Rust backend. Whenever we click the button, so in the previous video, I have explained you how the Rust data model looks like, how we get in the data and so on. Just to quickly show you. This is the list items table name. So it contains like primary key, short key and attributes. And primary key also will contain like name, value and kind. Kind I'm not heavily using. Kind will tell this what is the data type of the attribute, whether it is a string, array or JSON. For the time being, I'm just differentiating between string and JSON, but I'm not using heavily. So each particular key, like primary key, the primary key is we know, primary or partition key we know, but the column name may be different. It may not be known as primary key. User can feel free to use it. So that I created a name value pair here. So the name will contain like PK. This is a name and the value is this email part. Similarly, short key is this is the name, this is the value. And this free flow attribute is the name and value. So similarly, I printed like primary key and second key. Then attributes is again an array, If you see here, Rust backend will return attributes as a vector or a collection or array of attribute. So we have to loop through it and create like same thing. But here I did slightly different UI thing I introduced. If you click here, if you see there is a popover. Because if I don't want to display the entire data, so if the data length is less than 20, I'm displaying as it is. If you click this notch, nothing will happen. But if you see there is 3 triple dot here, that means I am only showing the content till the 20 length and putting 3 dots. And if you want to see more content over here, you have to click it. So all the data will be displayed in a nice format. The UI component here I have used like popover from Mantine, and I have using a different library or library in a React term like React JSON Prettify or Pretty. So which will Pretty and given a proper theme, it provided a theme already. So I have using the let me forget what is the name of the theme. Monikai theme. So I bet that there would be different themes available. So which will format it to proper format and apply some color theme to that. So if you see this logic, if it is less than 20, display as it is. So this is a React way to do conditional rendering. If it is greater than 20, then this particular code will be executed. So popover, I'll explain about this. This is a very important piece of the puzzle. So we have like popover, open, close and target. This is actually element where you want to click. And this is the content, it will be displayed onto the, whenever we clicked it. So if you see I get is substring 0 to 20 only I'm displaying with followed by 3 dots. And whenever we click it, this particular will be displayed. And this clicking is a little bit complicated because there are so many places we have to click, right? And the data should be displayed based upon that particular description. So if you use only one variable to track of it, so all pop-up will be open if you use only one state. What I mean by it, if you see that example given by the documentation, if this is only true or false, append, set append. So once we click it, then everything will be opened. And if you close it, everything will be closed. So that is not ideal. So instead of a simple boolean, I've created an object. And I've created a key here. So whenever we click this button, whenever we click it, I am calling this toggle popover. By passing this, there is a custom index. There are two indexes there. One is this row, items row, and second one is attribute. The row index is I, this is j. This combination of I, j will make the unique, make the attribute unique. So what I'm trying to say, this is 0 row, first row, second row, and so on. And this is 0, 1, 2 index. So both I and j index I am passing to the toggle pop-up. That is a simple function. So I am creating a key and I am setting set append. In this case, I am setting a object. I'm whatever the value I have, I am destructuring it so that it will be copy all the fields. Let's say there are 10 different attributes already present. It will copy into the first array, then it will override this key with this negation or toggling of that value. If it is true, it will make it false. If it is false, it will make it true for only that particular key or I tilde j symbol. So this is how, if the first time you are doing, it will set only the first, this append will be empty. The first key will be make it true or false. Initially it will be undefined. Undefined is a false value, so it will make it undefined true first time you click. Similarly, if you click open is retrieving the value for that. I am using a double negation because if it is undefined, double negation of undefined is false. Double negation of true is true only. Just it will convert like false value to the boolean converter and true to true and all the false value to the false. It is a slight confusing, but you can refer this code if you want to understand more. I provided the GitHub link below. So this is about the table list. And I think I already shown you this prettifier one. It is a quite simple one. So once we, here. This and pretty, in the data we can just provide this data. And style I am given the background transparent. This is not needed because there is some background is overriding. So in the index.page I have overwritten it. Yeah, I have to apply some different background inherit because some other background is coming. I didn't like that. So I just overridden in the style. Maybe I looking for some good place to put this custom CSS hex, but that is for some other day. So Json is coming from this particular theme, Monaco, and I think the UI looks pretty, looks okay. And slowly we'll be working on adding the filter here, and we'll keep on progressing and building different thing. And also one more before we close for today, this Tauri configuration I am playing around with this. There is this very important file, Tauri configuration JSON. So this Windows, how it will be displayed. Do you want to make it full screen? I was trying to change with the width and height so that I can display the window in the right hand side in my monitor, and whenever I make a code change, so it would be placed in one place. And we have to give some XY coordinates and always on top so that it won't be hidden. There are various properties. You can refer the Tauri app documentation to get a better picture of it. But hope you like this UI changes, and we'll be doing lots and lots to improve this particular side project of me. Thanks very much for watching. Have a very good day ahead. Bye bye.